Living with strangers carries a lot of risks. I almost lost my life just because I decided to live with a stranger. I am Neo, 23 years old, and I had just moved into a small apartment near my workplace. Because I wanted to save costs, I posted an ad on Facebook looking for a roommate. Not long after, a guy named Justin contacted me. He seemed cold and quiet, but I thought that would help avoid trouble, so I agreed to let him stay. Although we lived in the same apartment, Justin and I rarely ran into each other. During the day, he always stayed in his room with the door closed, only going out in the evening and usually returning very late at night. One night, I was thirsty, so I went to the living room to get a drink. I saw Justin coming back, holding a black plastic bag, and there was a long scratch on his face that was still bleeding. I asked Justin with a surprised tone.
Why are you back so late? What's wrong with your face?
Justin looked at me coldly and said,
It's okay. I had something I needed to do.
Justin gave me a curt reply and quietly walked into the room. I found him a bit puzzling, but I didn't pay much attention. The next evening, Justin hurriedly left, but his door was still ajar. I stood up to help him close the door, but suddenly smelled a stench like blood. I curiously pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was pitch dark. Groping for the switch next to the door, I turned on the light, and the room was instantly filled with brightness. A horrifying scene lay before me. On the table lay a dagger and a rough rope stained with dried blood. My heart suddenly pounded, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. On the wall, a whiteboard was covered with images of women, each marked with red pen strokes. My gaze unconsciously drifted down to the bottom of the trash can, and out of curiosity, I pulled it out, only to be horrified to discover a pair of pupils seemingly glaring at me. I felt a chill run down my spine, but before I could react, footsteps echoed outside the door. Justin coldly looked at me and said,
What are you doing here?
I pushed Justin's hand away, nervously stepping back.
These are the people who have been reported missing on the news these past few days. You killed them!
They all deserve to die.
I nervously stepped back and looked at Justin, saying,
You're a murderer. I'm calling the police.
Justin smirked coldly.
Then let's see if you can get out of here.
He suddenly delivered a strong kick to my stomach. My whole body was thrown back, staggering before I felt hard. My back, hitting the edge of the table, accidentally brushed against the knife on the table, and I hurriedly grabbed it and lunged towards Justin. But he quickly seized my wrist and tightened his grip. I gritted my teeth and put all my strength into kicking Justin's shin. He groaned, bending down in pain, and I immediately turned around to run. Justin quickly regained his balance and lunged forward, kicking me hard in the back. I lost control, staggered, and fell heavily onto the floor. As soon as I turned around to get up, he rushed at me, pinning me down and throwing a series of punches at my face. I shouted angrily.
Murderer, let me go now.
Justin angrily replied,
What do you know? They deserve to die. Traitors, liars. Just like my mother. She deceived my father, betrayed our family and Kia, and caused his death.
His every word felt like a sharp, cold blade slicing through the air. I stood frozen, my heart pounding. I tried to stay calm and replied,
Do you think doing this will be good for you? Or will it only make that obsession haunt you forever?
Justin froze, his grip on my collar unconsciously loosening. A flicker of hesitation flashed in his eyes. I seized the opportunity, mustering all my strength to break free. I shoved him aside, desperately trying to escape his grasp, but Justin quickly caught on to my intention. He reached out and grabbed my ankle, sending a sharp pain shooting through my calf. Horrified, I realized that the blade in his hand had pierced deep into my flesh. A searing pain spread through my body, forcing me to collapse Justin glared at me and said through gritted teeth,
I didn't want to kill you, but you already know too much.
He tightened his grip on the knife, slowly stepping toward me. My heart clenched, and my breath grew unsteady. I looked at him in fear and pleaded.
Justin, stop before it's too late.
Justin looked at me with disappointment and said,
I can't turn back anymore.
Just as the blade was mere inches from me, the door suddenly burst open. Police stormed in, their guns aimed directly at Justin. A police officer aimed his gun and shouted,
Drop the weapon! Hands up now!
The police rushed in, handcuffing Justin before dragging him out of the apartment. His face was pale, and his empty eyes glanced over me one last time. My breath was still unsteady, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. Just a few seconds later, and I might not have existed in this world anymore. Everything had finally come to an end, but my heart still felt heavy. It was like a nightmare I couldn't escape from.
Lissy grew up in a violent family. To the beach. We haven't gone in so long, Dad. But I never imagined that a simple conversation would mark the beginning of a terrifying tragedy. That day, my parents attended a party and told us to prepare dinner ourselves. I planned to order food and wanted to ask Lissy if she would like to eat with me.
Lissy, I'm ordering dinner. Do you want anything?
There was no response. The door was unlocked, yet the room remained eerily silent. Hesitating for a moment, I pushed the door open, but Lissy wasn't inside. It was my first time entering her room. Everything was neat and clean. My eyes landed on the desk, where an old diary lay neatly. On the cover, the word die was scrawled in bold red letters. A sense of unease rose within me, yet I couldn't stop myself from picking up the diary. Inside were grotesque, twisted drawings drenched in blood, horrifying and disturbing. Frightened, I quickly shut the book and tossed it back onto the desk. My heart pounded, my breath quickened. At that moment, I noticed another word carved deeply into the desk. Kill, with my name etched right next to it. My entire body froze. My breath became heavy. What was Lizzie trying to do? Suddenly, her cold voice rang out behind me.
Jane, who gave you permission to touch my things?
Startled, I turned around to see Lissy's expressionless face staring at me. Lissy, what is all this? Lissy said coldly.
I hate you. I want you dead.
With that, she pulled a sharp knife from her pocket and lunged at me. I quickly dodged, but the blade still sliced deep into my arm, sending a sharp pain through me. Lissy then kicked me hard in the back, making me fall onto the floor. She opened a drawer, pulled out a rope, and immediately pounced on me, pinning me down. Before I could react, my wrists and ankles were already bound tightly.
Why are you doing this to me?
I hate how happy you are. I hate your stupid, cheerful smile.
She dragged the blade across my cheek, the cold steel sending a chilling sensation through my skin. Lissy, please stop. Everyone loves you.
Love! You have everything. Parents, vacations, attention. And me? I'm nothing but a discarded piece of trash.
No, Lizzie. We all want you to come with us on the trip.
Shut up! I don't need your pity.
My pleas only fueled her rage. She gripped the knife tightly and stabbed it deep into my thigh. A searing pain shot through my body, and I screamed in agony. Lizzie's fingers tightened around the knife handle, preparing to drive it down with all her strength. I truly thought that would be the last moment of my life. But just then, my mother's terrified scream shattered the air. Looking towards the door, I saw my parents standing there, their faces frozen in horror.
Lizzie, what are you doing?
Lizzie, put the knife down.
Don't come any closer or I'll kill her.
In an instant, my father lunged forward, grabbing Lizzie's wrist and struggling to pry the knife from her grip. Lizzie suddenly bit down hard on my father's hand, making him yelp in pain and loosen his grip. Taking advantage of the moment, she broke free and turned towards me, eyes burning with madness. My father quickly grabbed her from behind, wrapping his arms around her tightly. She thrashed violently, screaming.
Lizzie, my love, please stop.
Lizzie suddenly froze, turning to look at my mother. Her grip on the knife loosened, and it clattered to the floor. Perhaps, at that moment, she remembered her biological mother, the only person who had ever truly loved her. After that day, my parents took Lizzie to see a psychiatrist. She was diagnosed with severe psychological disorders caused by past trauma, so she had to stay at the hospital for treatment. What Lizzie did to me was painful, but I never once hated her. In fact, I felt even more sorry for her. I only wished for our family to be whole again someday.
After 5 years as a delivery worker, I never thought a single order could cost me my life. That night, close to midnight, I received an order for 2 servings of chicken rice. The delivery address was a house on the outskirts of the city. Even though I had a bad feeling about it, I had not received a single order all day, so I gritted my teeth and accepted it. When I arrived, I saw an old, desolate house standing alone in the middle of the woods. A cold gust of wind blew against me, sending shivers down my spine. I knocked on the door, but no one answered, so I took out my phone and called the customer.
The door is unlocked. Bring it inside.
I hesitated, but pushed the door open. The musty smell immediately filled my nose, making me grimace. The air inside was cold, as if no one had lived there for a long time.
I have your delivery. Is anyone here?
At that moment, the sound of a knife chopping down on wood, thick, heavy, and sharp, resounded from a room inside. I jumped, my heart pounding. Carefully, I tiptoed toward the door, and the scene before me made my stomach churn. A man was chopping a human arm. On the table, severed body parts were laid out in pieces. I screamed in terror. The thick, metallic scent of blood choked my throat, and I collapsed onto the floor.
You harmed someone. I have to call the police. Stay and help me, or I'll put you on this table next.
My entire body froze at his words. Fear forced me to turn back and help him pack the body parts into black bags. Each time my hands touched the cold, lifeless flesh, it felt as if thousands of insects were crawling over my skin. After we finished cleaning up, he ordered me to dispose of the black bags. Trembling, I carried them to a deserted riverside, tossing each one into the water before hurrying away. But as soon as I turned around, the man was already behind me, gripping a knife tightly, his cold eyes staring into mine.
You did well, but you still have to die. I did everything you asked. Please let me go. Let you go? You've seen everything. You can't live. I promise I won't tell anyone. Just let me go. The only way to keep a secret is to take it to the grave.
With that, he lunged at me. I dodged just in time, the blade grazing my arm and burning my skin. Enraged, he raised the knife again, his grip tightening as he thrust forward. On reflex, I grabbed his wrist, stopping the blade just inches from my face. His strength was terrifying. I used all my force to shove him back, making him stumble. Seizing the moment, I grabbed a rock from the ground and hurled it at his head. He cried out in pain, clutching his head as he staggered. I sprinted to my car, speeding away as I called the police. But by the time they arrived, the man had disappeared without a trace. A few days later, I returned home only to be greeted by a horrifying sight. A bloodied human arm lay in the middle of my floor. On the wall, a message was scrawled in dark red blood. "You will have to disappear."
Did you really think you could escape me?
I spun around, locking eyes with the man. He aimed a gun at my head.
Please, I'll give you anything you want. I want your life.
In that instant, I grabbed his wrist, struggling to wrestle the gun upward. A gunshot rang out. The bullet struck the ceiling, sending dust falling around us. I jolted, loosening my grip, and he kicked my stomach hard, sending me crashing to the floor. I tried to push myself up, but before I could, his heavy foot slammed down onto my chest, pinning me against the cold tiles.
Don't waste your strength. You won't escape.
At that moment, my hand brushed against my phone in my pocket. Without hesitation, I yanked it out and hurled it at his face. With every ounce of strength left in me, I scrambled up, shoving him aside as I dashed toward the door. But before I could get far, a gunshot rang out. A searing pain shot through my leg, and I collapsed onto the floor.
You little rat. Let's see where you'll run now.
I refused to give up. Gritting my teeth, I crawled forward. Another shot rang out, piercing my other leg. I screamed in agony as my body convulsed and the world blurred.
Say goodbye to the world.
Suddenly, the door burst open with a loud bang. The man froze, eyes widening in shock. Before he could react, a bullet shot straight into his chest. Dark red blood slowly spread across his shirt. Police officers swarmed in, surrounding the house. I exhaled shakily, my body going limp as I shut my eyes in relief. It was finally over. I was rushed to the hospital, my legs soaked in blood. Though the killer was dead, the memory of that night haunted me every second of my life. The images replayed in my mind like a never-ending horror film with no escape. I grew up in a wealthy family, with both my parents being successful entrepreneurs. However, a tragedy struck, and I lost everything. My mother passed away in an accident, but less than 2 months later, my father married a woman named Lisa. At first, Lisa appeared to be a gentle and caring woman, always trying to win my father's favor. But whenever it was just the two of us, her gaze was always filled with resentment when she looked at me. One day, as I was walking down the hallway, I accidentally overheard her talking to someone on the phone.
I have to get rid of that boy, Daniel, first. He could interfere with my plans.
I felt my heart stop, a wave of fear spreading through me. Why would she want to do this to me? I immediately told my father, but he said I must have misheard and was imagining things. His reaction left me feeling disappointed, as if my fears didn't matter at all. With no one to confide in, I went to find my cat, but I was horrified to see it lying motionless in the basement. I froze in shock and rushed to its side. There was a deep cut on its neck, almost severing its head. Suddenly, a rope tightened around my neck, pulling so hard that my lungs felt like they were on fire.
I will make you disappear.
I struggled desperately, but the rope only tightened further, making me feel dizzy. With all the strength I had left, I threw my head back, striking Lisa's stomach. She stumbled backward, loosening her grip just enough. Taking the chance, I quickly pulled the rope off my neck and turned to glare at Lisa in anger.
What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me?
You've been in my way for too long. I don't want to see you anymore.
You were the one who killed my cat?
That's right. And not just the cat, you're next.
With that, she lunged at me, grabbing my throat and slamming me against the wall. Her fingers tightened around my neck, cutting off my air. My breaths became short and ragged. Clenching my fist, I used all my strength to punch her directly in the eye. She cried out in pain and loosened her grip. Seizing the opportunity, I kicked her away and lunged for a hammer on the nearby shelf.
Stop! Don't come any closer!
Lisa pulled out a knife from her pocket and charged at me like a wild beast. Panicked, I instinctively raised the hammer and swung it down on her head. Terrified, I let go of the hammer, my legs shaking as I stared at her motionless body.
Daniel, what have you done? I didn't mean to. She wanted to harm me? Shut up. Lisa could never have harmed you.
I watched him in despair. No matter how much I explained, he wouldn't believe me. Lisa died on the way to the hospital, and my father, without hesitation, handed me over to the police. After investigating, the police found messages between Lisa and her lover, plotting to harm my father and me for our wealth. Lisa secretly poisoned my father's daily milk and then planned to get rid of me to secure the inheritance. This poison had a slow effect, gradually weakening the body over time without arousing suspicion. When my father learned the truth, he was devastated, blaming himself for being so blindly trusting. As for me, even though I was cleared of all charges, the wounds in my heart never healed. They remained embedded in my mind like an endless, haunting nightmare.